What's going on? Juicy here, back again with another South Park Phone Destroyer video, and today and tomorrow we're going to be having a couple of videos tying to, in my opinion, both of these videos will be tied to my opinion only, the top 10 cards that I feel need a buff, and then tomorrow will be the top 10 cards I feel need nerfs right now in South Park Phone Destroyer. I know that yesterday I did post a video with the newest changes that Red Links has announced as far as balance changes that will be coming out next week for the game, but I feel like there are still some cards that need to be addressed. Maybe these cards, when they get buffed or nerfed, will not completely shift the meta, but will maybe hopefully create a little bit more diversity in builds and decks, and that's more or less what I'm trying to hopefully help assist with. So as always, you guys are going to let me know down below your thoughts and feelings on all of the things that we're going to talk about as far as both buffs and the nerfs tomorrow. But again, today is about buffs, so let's get into the top 10, starting of course with number 10, and we're going to work our way to number 1. So here we go with number 10. Alright guys, so of course number 10 to me, Sexy Nun Randy. Now, why Sexy Nun Randy? Does he need a buff? And to me, the only buff that he really needs is an increase to his overall base damage, not his health, just his base damage. So you look at Sexy Nun Randy, he's not really played very much at high tier ladder. He is played in Bronze League and at times in Silver Leagues of ladder play, but I don't see him much in Legendary Arena for the main reason of he's not as good as the other Randys. The other Randys are just so much better. That's why you see nerfs being done to primarily the other Randys. You see that 6 element Randy's receiving a nerf upcoming. You see that Mary Jane Randy is receiving a nerf upcoming. Poco has received a buff and then has not had any kind of retraction, but you see Poco being far more valuable than Sexy Nun. And I know that Poco really synergizes very well with Frontier Bradley, which is one of the main reasons why Poco's so good. Also, he has increased attack speed over Sexy Nun and hits a little bit and then hits harder because of that. So Sexy Nun Randy has a faster deployment of his charge unit over Poco, which is nice, but just does way less damage right now. With the lower attack speed, he definitely needs a boost to his damage output, in my opinion, to be more aligned with some of these other Randys and be more viable in the meta. So I just think that Sexy Nun Randy needs a slight increase to base damage. Well, 30 and 35% is not a slight increase, but a decent chunk of increase to be more viable in this meta. So that's my thoughts on number 10. Let's get to number 9. Number 9 to me is Bebe. So Buccaneer Bebe needs an increase to her overall ability damage. No other change whatsoever. She doesn't need any change to health, any change to damage. She does have pretty decent health scaling right now for a range card. Range cards have been kind of being shifted by Red Links into more of a glass cannon focus, and I feel like Buccaneer Bebe has a decent amount of health. So does Medicine Woman Sharon in the same theme. Both have the same cost of 4 energy, so therefore that kind of makes sense. They'd be a little bit tankier because of their cost. But the issue to me, again, is that her ability just doesn't feel very good right now. And yes, she has received some buffs, a buff in the past, but not to her overall ability damage. I feel like if you give it 20 to 25% increased damage in that regard, it will make her more viable at her energy cost, because as of right now, to me, Adventure is still very top heavy, with like 5 or 6 cards really being very good, and then the rest of them are kind of meh. So I feel like this could shift Buck Bebe not necessarily into that god tier faction within what Adventure has at their disposal, but definitely could be a little bit better and make her more viable in the meta overall, and better situationally in different decks and different things like that. So I think that's really all she needs to really be a little bit more viable in the meta now as we see it. So there we go at number 9. Let's quickly shift to number 8. Number 8, this is my first rework suggestion to the top 10 that we have here today. It's Hercules Clyde. Hercules Clyde, one of the earliest cards added to the game, has received some changes in the past. I believe had a energy decrease at one point, but then no other changes, maybe a little bit of stat boost as well. But I still feel like Hercules Clyde, you don't see him hardly at all right now. Mystical is very strong, arguably the best theme in the entire game right now. Some might disagree with that. I still think they are the top theme overall. Just such good synergy with so many different deck options. But Hercules Clyde has kind of fallen away. He doesn't really exist right now. So I think the rework needs to increase his energy cost to 4. So take it back, I believe, to 4. Maybe he's always been 3 energy. I don't fully remember, to be honest. And his war cry would hit multiple targets in an aura area. So it wouldn't be a huge aura, but he could have the potential to hit multiple units potentially with his war cry. And again, his war cry is a power bind like effect where it stops them from being able to charge. after he hits them. I think that would make it a little bit fair. That's why I think the energy increase would be necessary, because essentially we're giving him an additional potential spell focus along with his base stats. So I feel like if you kept him at 3 energy and did this kind of Warcry effect, it would make him too good. So I think that that's kind of the safety in between to not make him ridiculously overpowered by my suggestion for a change. I just think that this could be something that could make him more viable again, could make him kind of fit into different decks. Just think you could have Powerbind and Hercules Clyde. You could potentially negate a lot of stuff, and then you just Satan everybody to death, and then there you go. GG's, good game. That's all she wrote. So I think this could add some potential to the meta, maybe take up some focus on some different cards. So this is what I think could make Hercules Clyde a little bit more viable right now. So there we go with her Clyde at 8. Let's look at number 7. For number 7, I think we need a change to Grand Wizard Cartman. Now, Grand Wizard Cartman got a huge nerf in this meta because of the change and the rework to Pope Timmy. So now with his energy cost being at 6 energy, he's not really worth his value. And I think the big thing he needs to do is feel more legendary. Increase his charge damage 50 to 75%. Give it a good boost to the charge damage. Make it feel better. Yes, I know it has a slight knockback and stuns for a temporary period of time. So there's a lot of nice niche things that charge does, but the damage doesn't feel good enough. And I know what you're thinking, Druzy would just make him a chip card. Maybe, but at the same time, he's easy to counter, right? A lot of people run cancel cards in their decks. You have Sorcerer's Link, you have a lot of, cards within the own fantasy theme, 3 different ones that could just basically make him worthless. Plus, then you could just, if you are so concerned with the charge, so many people right now are running Powerbind, so you could just Powerbind him and then bam, he doesn't have his charge ability. Yes, he'd still be a tank, he'd still have all that health, but I feel like a slight change to his base stats aren't out of the question completely. Increases base stats 10 to 15%, not a huge jump up because he's got really good health scaling and he's got pretty decent damage for a tank. Now, again, I get he's a legendary card, he needs those things, but the big thing to me that he really needs more than anything is a focus on his charge damage. If we did that, he would be potentially a monster, very efficient in the meta, in my opinion. And because, again, he can't be easily brought back because of Pope Timmy's rework, so it still makes him to where he's still not insanely overpowered, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on Grand Wizard Cartman at number 7. Let's check and see what I think about number 6. For number 6, to me, Swashbuckler Red needs a buff, man. I don't think has had any change at all since she's come into the game. And basically, the only thing I think she needs is an increase to her overall health, 25 to 30%-ish. Maybe that's too much, but she's an epic card. I mean, like, we put so much focus, or Red Lynx has put so much focus on epics and legendaries trying to be stronger than rares and commons generally. So because of that, she doesn't feel like a true epic card. I feel like she's really missing something to make her. Warcry, I think, has great potential to be efficient, and I've seen people use that Warcry to good efficiency, but I think that she just dies too quickly. It makes the Warcry attraction not as good, because if she's just dead, then there it goes. I get that 10 seconds isn't a super long period of time, but if you just make her a little bit beefier, a little bit more health, I guess 25-30% is a little bit more health, but I don't think it's an astronomical amount either. Give her that health increase, and I think she'd be in a better spot, and her Warcry would be in a much more viable state, in my opinion. When all the other Reds, pretty much for the most part, are significantly stronger than her, I feel like this one would kind of hopefully bring her more in line with some of the other Reds that are in the game that are very strong right now in the game. So there we go with number 6. Let's take a quick look at number 5. So coming in at number 5 for me, Program Stand. Guys, this card is barely used, in all honesty. He's used a lot in silver and used a lot in bronze because he's so easy to obtain and he's easy to level up because sci-fi is so early on in your experience. But at Legendary Ladder, other than if you're playing an event-style deck and you're focusing on playing with, the new Infiltrator Kevin that needs a freeze, then you play Program Stand. Other than that, I don't see him hardly at all, unless he's an event card in Legendary Ladder, because he's just not that good right now. You need to increase his charge damage by 100%, aka doubling it. I think it needs a double dose of increase because Program Stand is thoroughly out statistically ranked by Toolshed. Toolshed is significantly better, also a stand card, of course, and an epic at the same point. and Program Stand just can't even come close, in my opinion. And then, of course, increase the freeze duration 25 to 50%. Make the charge just better all around. Don't worry about his base stats. Yeah, that would then still make, if we just focus on the charge, making the charge feel a little bit stronger, I don't think the base stats need a huge, change. If the base stats got a huge change, it would just make him probably too strong based on what I'm suggesting for changes here. So yeah, again, a focus on the charge damage, a focus on the charge duration, just make his charge more appealing. And then I think that it would just make him that much better. And again, if we went too much into also base stats on top of what I'm suggesting, I feel like it would just make him too good at his lower cost, things like that. So that's just my opinion, just to make Program Stand a little bit more in line than some of the other epic fighter cards that just really aren't seeing much playing time. So there we go with my thoughts for Program Stand. Let's look now at number 4. All right, guys, at number 4, we need a buff to Sheriff Cartman, guys. Sheriff Cartman, yeah, I mean, he's one of those cards that you guys, that we all, in the very beginning of the game, focused on because he was one of the first cards we were told to kind of upgrade. And then we're like thinking, oh, yay, he's a tank. We need a tank to be, at a good point. Yes and no. But as a rare card, he's one of the worst tanks in the game right now. I mean, Zen Cartman, also a rare card, way better. And then he's not even at nowhere near as close as good as Hunter Jimbo, which is the same cost and in the same theme. So, I mean, what's the point of ever even playing Sheriff Cartman again unless he's really an event card or in Team Wars? That's really the only time I see him consistently. I mean, yes, he's in there very rarely in ladder play, but for the most part, at high tier ladder, he's not around. He'll be there obviously a lot in bronze and some in silver, but he's not at almost at all at legendary arena for the reason that I just explained. So I would think increases charge damage 10 to 15%, not a huge buff. You don't want to make him too strong in the early game to make him cancerous that people will just get upset. But a slight increase to his charge damage, an increase to his health around 15-20% ish, I think would really kind of help make him better and more appealing than his other counterparts as far as Cartmans are concerned. I just think he's just not in a really good spot. And like, if you're just going to go tank in adventure, you should basically only go Hunter Jimbo or Big Mesquite Murph. Those are the only two right now, in my opinion, that are viable. I mean, Sheriff Cartman is viable early game, and then falls off a cliff after about midway through Silver League. So, that's just my opinion. I really think that Sheriff Cartman needs a little bit of love. That's all I'm asking. I think he's gotten some before, but he needs a little bit more. He needs a little more beefcake to make him better. But there we go at number 4. Let's take a look now at number 3. All right, guys, coming at number 3, one that I'm sure many of you may not have thought of, maybe Terrance Mephesto. I mean, Terrance Mephesto, again, not played hardly at all Legendary Ladder, played in early games, played in, Team Wars and things like that. He's a flying card, so we have to be careful with giving him too much of a boost or a suggestion for, kind of a buff. I think just increases overall damage 25% and increases range slightly. I don't really know how much more because he has such, minimal range. Yes, he has an AoE, a basic attack, so we have to be careful of making it to where, we drastically increase his overall damage. Maybe lower his health a little bit then. If we're going to increase his damage, lower his range, or increase his range, make him a little bit harder to hit. He has a flying unit, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult to take down than some others. But you look at other cards, in similar focus of Terrance Mephesto, you look at something like Dark Mage Craig. Yes, I get that Dark Mage Craig is on the ground. Nathan also AoE basic attacks. Both of them are ground units, so generally they're going to need a little bit better stats than a flying unit because a flying unit is a little bit, again, harder to target with certain things. You'll need spells or range units to basically take it down, or abilities, things like that. So I mean, he's easy. He can be dealt with, obviously. All range cards kind of can, but I just feel like he needs a little bit more damage. He needs to be a little bit stronger because he's just not playable at his energy cost. He's not valuable past Silver League basically at all. You don't see him really at all, and I mean, yeah, if you pair him with a really strong Ninju, yeah, he can pump out some serious damage, but so could any range card realistically, so that's not really a fair assessment. But again, he is AoE, so you got to be careful making him too strong, also with him being flying. So that's just my opinion. Just give some love to Terrance Mephesto. I don't think he's ever got a buff, ever, and he's been in the game since day one, so that's just my thoughts. Let's make Terrance Mephesto better. You know, things like that. All right, there we go at number 3. Let's check out who I think number 2 is the most important card needs a buff now. This one might be controversial, but I'm standing by it. Friar Jimmy. Friar Jimmy sucks. He sucks. Like, he's good at the very beginning. He's great in PvE. Doing campaigns, Friar Jimmy rules. Ladder, he's not existent. He doesn't exist. He'll exist in bronze and maybe low tier silver, but beyond that, no one plays this card. No one plays this card in Legendary that wants to win games. That's all I'm saying. So give him a rework, another rework again. Druzy, why are you giving reworks to Mystical? They're strong enough. I know. Sorry, calm down. I hear you. But increase his power range. So increase the effect of the aura effect. Boost its regen by 10 to 15%. And increase his overall base stats 10 to 15% is my suggestion. So make his range further on his aura ability. Increase the amount of healing it does. And increase his overall base stats. You look at other fighter cards that are even commons, like Stan the Great has recently got kind of a buff. You've seen Poseidon Stan get a buff. You've seen even, other cards get buffs over the course of time. Even other Jimmies. I don't think Friar Jimmy's ever received a buff. I think he's only received nerfs over the course of his lifespan in this game, which has been, again, since day one. And I'm not saying he's seen a bunch of nerfs, but he has seen some. So I just think, just tweak him a little bit. Make him more viable. He's not played except in Team Wars or maybe event cards and low level ladder. So give my boy Friar some love, man. I mean, like, he was fun to play when commons ruled the world, but now commons don't rule the world anymore. So therefore, I just don't see him at all. At least not the level ladder I play him at. So he needs some love. Give him a little bit. Come on, Red Links. So there we go with Friar Jimmy. Now, what card do you think is number 1 on this list? Let's find out right now. Well, Red Links and I were on the same page. I did make this, I didn't record this video, but I did make all these screenshots, work on this as far as making lists. I made lists here, guys. I made lists of what I think of cards that I felt needed changes. Hyperdrive has needed one for a long time. This has been the worst card in the game for a long time. Ever since Warboy Tweak got buffed. Hyperdrive is non-existent. It does not exist in this meta. Hardly at all. I don't feel like really at all. Like maybe a handful of people play this card. But there is going to be some significant changes coming to Hyperdrive, which of course we discussed it in the video yesterday. As you can see, Hyperdrive, they're going to lower the cost to make it 2 energy, do a speed up, or take the speed up down from 80 to 50%, so minus at 38%. The duration is going down slightly from 6 to 5, and then the power scaling goes up 0.1, or from 0.1 to 0.4 per level to max out at level 7, 6.6 seconds to 7.4 seconds. So you're going to get Hyperdrive more often. It's going to still be able to give you that power duration of that speed up. Both attack speed and movement speed will be increased, obviously, with all those things. But because of the Hyperdrive change, it's definitely a positive for sci-fi, even though sci-fi is probably the second strongest theme right now. So this is kind of scary to make it better. But Hyperdrive's needed a change for a long freaking time. It's been just in a bad state again for a long time. So this is kind of nice to see the rework. My suggestion was decrease the energy cost by 1 and then slightly increase its overall speed. So my change, not quite as significant as what Red Links went with, but again, we're on the same page, Red Links. I appreciate the fact that we're seeing eye to eye, at least on this card. Maybe some of my other ones need to be sprinkled in the future. I'm going to take full credit if any of these other 9 cards get changed recently. I'll take full credit, and you're all welcome if they do. But there we go, guys. There is my top 10 cards that I think need balance changes right now, or need buffs, right? This is always going to be a topic. People are going to highly debate it. People are going to constantly be like, Druzy, some of these are really dumb. Some of these are really good. And you missed some cards. I'm sure I did. So always let me know what you think are the top 10 cards that need buffs or changes. If you want to tell me what you would do differently, you can let me know in the comments. I'm sure there'll be tons of comments on this video and on the video that I'm going to be posting tomorrow, again, that will need nerfs. Now, these are, again, my suggestions. These are not things that Red Lynx is doing as far as balance changes. If you want to know what those are, that was in the video yesterday on Monday, 10/4. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoy this video and are looking forward to the nerf video tomorrow. You guys know who it is. And until next time, guys, my name is Druzy.